Hello, everyone. We are going to start our presentation. This is insurance requirements for nonprofit organizations. So excited to have you here with us today and going through this. We'll have a cozy group, so feel free to ask any questions. And also, if you could put your name and your organization and your role in the chat, then we'll be able to have a little bit of roll call. So this is the Tacoma Capacity Building Project. We kind of just give a shout out to this, what got us here today. This is a training series and technical assistance series for nonprofits in the city of Tacoma that have been funded by the city or would like to be funded by the city. We also have support through the Tacoma Creates, Tacoma Arts team, and the Office of Arts and Cultural Vitality. So we are providing technical assistance to those folks and also welcoming all the nonprofits in the city of Tacoma to be part of this training. Today's agenda, like I said, we will get started with introductions. We'll be able to get to know one another. We'll talk about insurance requirements. So not the most exciting topic of the day, but something very necessary as you're running your nonprofit. And also we'll be able to answer questions as we go through. And we would love to hear your experiences as well, or maybe some things that you're stuck on related to this topic, or you'd like a little bit more information on. So here today, we're going to talk about insurance. So insurance is one of those sticky things that most people need to have in their lives or their business or their nonprofit, but they're not sure where to get it or what is needed. And it's a great way to protect your organization from loss. If you need to have a claim on your insurance, that's what it's there for. And it also helps lessen risk for your organization. It does come for a cost depending on what policies you need or extra insurance coverage that you may need. In general sense, folks have insurance for their home or insurance for their apartment or car insurance. In the nonprofit setting, insurance may be required for your building, for your board of directors. We all know health insurance, so you might have health insurance, or there might be other insurance related specifically to a grant you're working on or the work that you do. So insurance is a great way to lessen risk of your organization and kind of cover you depending on the work that you're doing. So let's talk about risk a little bit. So as we talked about previous slide, insurance lessens risk, and risk is the potential for if there's a loss or some sort of potential loss that you might be encountered, insurance helps protect us from that. So not in a nonprofit setting, but we can all relate to, weather instances and maybe, a storm or a big weather incident or a lot of rain. In those cases, there could be storm insurance or flood insurance or something to protect your home and valuables, right? And so in the same case for nonprofits, having insurance for your board of directors in case something might go awry there, or having it for your facility is very important. And it's good to have it and versus not having it, because if something does occur that you're not able to cover, the insurance policy minus deductible should kick in. So one thing that we don't want to happen at your nonprofit is any injuries to staff or volunteers or the public, but like I said, that may happen. Damage to your facility or building, theft or fraud. Sometimes people break in, or there's broken windows, or facility repairs that just happen that you're not expecting. So insurance will help protect and help you manage any of those larger expenses. So you can put a claim in towards your insurance to pay for those. Does my organization need insurance? I would say in most cases, yes, for a nonprofit or folks that would like to eventually form a nonprofit, that's definitely a yes. The level and depth of insurance may vary depending on the program you're doing, or if you have a facility or not, or if you're working remotely or not, or if people are driving on behalf of the organization or not. So different insurance covers different situations. And it's always good to, as you're working through your annual review of your nonprofit, making sure that you have the appropriate coverage. Your insurance broker, if you're working with one, is a really good advocate for making sure you have coverage. If you're working with like the city or the county or another grant funder, they may also ask to be part of your coverage named as an additional insured. So you will get up to speed with insurance pretty quickly if you're not already. Zach or John, anything to add here?
No, I don't think so. That I mean that pretty well covers the need of insurance and how you might go around deciding which insurance you need and how best to get coverage.
Awesome, great. So we do recommend working with an insurance broker, and sometimes, the cost of a policy could be a little prohibitive. We also recommend that you shop around to make sure you're getting the best coverage and the best price. Brokers are there to help insure your nonprofit and add also other policies if needed, like car insurance or facility insurance, or maybe specific insurance, general liability, or other types of insurance, depending on what you might need to work on a project. In our experience, we find a great broker, and then depending on the situation, we always ask them to review, our contract language or our requirements, or making sure that they know that we need their assistance. So the role of an insurance broker should be very like a partner. If you're not finding that they're giving you the best service, or they're not responding to your emails or calls, it's always good to find another broker to work with. Okay, so let's start at the beginning as we dive into this a little bit. So as part of working with a nonprofit, some organizations elect to have director and officer insurance, or sometimes referred to as D&O insurance. This offers liability coverage for the nonprofit, and it may also help reimburse costs related to anything related to the board members or managers or employees that are functioning on behalf of the nonprofit. So this is, I think, optional in some cases. Some organizations have it for their directors and officers just to make sure that it's there and can potentially cover any monetary damages if something was brought against the board or the organization itself. Unemployment insurance. So this is another category of insurance. If you're working with people and you have staff, unemployment insurance may be something that you're pursuing or looking more into. It is required, and as you go through the work with labor and industries and other departments through the state, they will help you navigate unemployment insurance and answer questions. So unemployment insurance for Washington State is funded by taxes. 501c3s, like I said, they may decide to opt out of the state unemployment system and become a direct reimbursing employer. But in that case, if anybody claims unemployment, you would be paying their claims directly. So something to think about as you go through seeing what's best for your nonprofit and managing dollars and also managing people. Unemployment insurance, again, is a little bit tricky one that you might want to navigate with your board. We don't recommend foregoing it, even though it's a cost. So we recommend budgeting this cost in as you're budgeting costs for employees. Okay, workers' comp. So another thing related to the people part of your project. is industrial insurance or insurance for labor and industries. People refer to it different ways. So if somebody's injured on the job, they could claim L&I if it's a work-related injury, and this is something that would be paid out, on a quarterly basis to the state. When you're setting up employees, we found that the Office of Labor and Industries was very helpful in helping determine a rate, an L&I rate that we would apply, and we would pay that quarterly based on the number of hours worked for employees. So I think Washington State is very pro-employee and really insists that folks have L&I coverage, and in some cases, independent contractors, depending on how they're set up, may also qualify for what we call L&I or workers' comp insurance. So we recommend reaching out to the Department of Labor and Industries just to talk with them, and also they have great checklists and tools about who qualifies and who doesn't. So definitely something to have built into your estimate when you're hiring employees. Okay, now medical insurance and other benefits. We like to help folks think about covering their employees. Not everyone can offer medical insurance as a nonprofit when they're starting out. It's something that you'll have to probably work up to. The more employees you have, the more competitive costs you can get for medical and dental. And so smaller organizations sometimes offer to reimburse employees for medical expenses versus paying for medical expenses or partially paying for medical expenses on behalf of their employee. So it's a good thing to work towards. It is helping create sustainability and vitality for your staff. And we recommend working through a few different brokers if you have access to them to tell them about how many staff you have and what insurance that you're looking for. And they'll be able to explore options for medical, dental, health, life, and other supplemental insurance policies. So Zach or John, anything to add there?
No, thank you. It was a very succinct explanation for benefits. I think the only thing to add, did you mention the for benefits, there's not a requirement for small businesses to maintain it. It's just something that can be done if the organization wants to take on benefits.
Yes, and I think for nonprofits, I think it's optional, but it's something as they grow their workforce, they would need to explore, as a smaller employer. Zach, anything to add?
Yeah, just as you're going into benefits, it's important. There's a few considerations as you're going to pursue medical insurance and other benefits. As you go to work with a broker, as you go to determine what's going to be best. Going in with a budget in mind, so having already budgeted out how much you think you can spend per employee. Usually that's a percentage of their pay, like a benefit rate. So for example, you might have a 30% cost of benefits. So for every employee, they receive an additional compensation of a certain amount that can include not only medical insurance benefits, but it might also include covering time off, things like that. So when you're budgeting out, it's important to go in with an idea of the costs you can actually absorb, because with medical insurance benefits, you will be paying them. You'll pay them up front, and then when you cost share with employees, you'll be retaining that money on the back end through your running payroll. So you want to make sure whatever you've set up, you can sustain, and make sure that the bills get paid on time. The brokers will be able to help you determine maybe options that are available to you. Who they can help you. They'll be able to source from multiple providers and find good coverage at a good dollar rate. They'll kind of find a best bang for your buck, so to speak. But they won't be able to tell you what you should spend. So you'll want to come in with that number in mind. You'll want to come in with the idea of what sort of coverage you want to offer. Do you want to offer vision, dental? Are you just looking to run medical? Other side benefits like employee assistance programs or life insurance or disability insurances? Is that something you're interested in? Do you think your employees want to do it? When we've run, getting people started on benefits or reviewing their benefit options and kind of understanding what would be best, we'll run like internal surveys of staff and kind of get some input on what they would be comfortable spending out of their own pocket towards their benefits, what kind of benefits they would find valuable, and taking that into account when working with the broker to find a suitable plan. But all to say, medical benefits can be complicated. Sorry, and an additional portion. One of the big reasons as small employers don't have to take on this burden, besides cost, is that it's very hard. So small businesses are going to have a harder time if you only have a handful of employees to really access medical benefits, even with a broker helping you out. So it's best to have as many employees as you can going into searching for medical, so that you can find good rates. You have plenty of options. The more invested you are, sorry, the less employees you have, the less choices you'll really be able to have. So instead of having a whole buffet of options, there might only be one or two medical insurance providers that would work with you. There are some ways around this. Various professional organizations, chambers of commerce, nonprofit organizations, other things exist that you can join membership of, and will help you to access larger medical plans, even if you have small employees, because everyone's all in the same pot. But obviously, insurance brokers can kind of help you navigate the way through that field. Yeah, so all to say, there's some planning and effort that would have to go into determining medical insurance benefits, but it can help a lot in retaining employees, gaining new employees, and making sure your employees are well cared for.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Zach and John. All right, so transitioning over to other insurance requirements. So commercial general liability insurance, and this might be dictated in if you're working on a specific grant or other project. URSA or Fidelity Bond for organizations if they have retirement plans. And again, these aren't required necessarily for every nonprofit. It's something that you'll get to at one stage if you have employees, but something to think about. We talked about auto, or if you have a fleet of vehicles, if you're doing a lot of driving, company vehicle insurance is very important for your nonprofit, and versus having someone drive in their own personal vehicle on behalf of the nonprofit. So keep an eye out for that. And that would be a commercial policy that you would be getting estimates for your nonprofit. If you're working with children or maybe vulnerable individuals, improper sexual conduct and physical abuse coverage might be required. There's also social services, professional, and also errors and omissions coverage. And these might be also requirements named if you're working on a project specifically. We did mention property insurance for any physical properties that you're working out of as a nonprofit, and make sure that you're working with a licensed broker regarding what insurance your nonprofit may need. And your insurance needs may evolve depending on the work that you're doing. So once covered doesn't mean that the coverage covers you for everything, because your work may change and you might have more employees or less. Or maybe working with more volunteers, et cetera, et cetera. So always, know who your broker is. And if you have questions, ask. And if it's not quite clear, if you have certain insurance requirements, what we have done and found works really well is just send them the requirements for them to review, so they know what you need. They're the experts of obtaining insurance, and you as a nonprofit are expert in the work that you do. So we encourage folks not to try to be insurance brokers on their behalf because it's complicated, and making sure they're working with a really solid broker. So we wanted to kind of highlight, some specific certificate of insurance requirements we've seen. And this is just an example language from a City of Tacoma contract. So this is for a contract and not necessarily a grant. But this is language we wanted that you may see in your contract agreement or requirement if you're working on a City of Tacoma project. This is not all encompassing though, so you might have different language that you're referring to if you're working specifically with the city, but this is some general example language here. So for the City of Tacoma contract, these are examples of required insurance limits and required insurance. So here you can see some language for commercial general liability. It's referencing the contractor have this general liability insurance policy with no less than $1 million for each occurrence and $2 million for annual aggregate. And it tells you how this policy shall be written and what liability coverage you need to have, especially when you're purchasing supplies or related to products and completed operations, et cetera, et cetera. So this is something that language, if you're required to have this or you see this as part of your contract, if you're working with the city, share this with your insurance broker so they can make sure you have the required coverage, and they will quote you a price for what this coverage may cost. Workers' compensation, we covered this a little bit earlier. This is required, it's part of the L&I laws, industrial insurance laws of the state of Washington. So here in this clause here, be compliant with workers' comp. So that what the city would expect that you're compliant with state requirements. Also here, there's a clause for employers' liability insurance. So it says that, engaging in this work with the City of Tacoma requires coverage not less than $1 million for each employee, $1 million for each accident, and $1 million policy limit. So minimum coverage requirements here, but all important clauses. Any questions or thoughts on this language? Again, we don't, there's no quiz at the end, thank God, right? But we are just kind of highlighting it in case this comes up in any of your contracts with the City of Tacoma or potentially other funders. Okay, I'm going to move on to some more example language. So we've kind of covered this a little bit previously, professional liability insurance or errors and omissions. So if you're working, in the professional licensing, design, or engineering lane, your contractor, you as a contractor with the city or subcontractors, folks that are working with you on a project, need to have the professional liability or errors and omissions limits. And here in this clause, they're $1 million per claim or $2 million in the aggregate. And this would cover acts, errors and omissions of writing out a delivery of these professional services. And it talks about maintaining this coverage for the policy of $2 million and making sure that that limit includes the payment of claims or defense costs from the policy limit. So important to have this. Your insurance broker will be able to make sure you have the correct coverage. Again, we recommend just sending language to them to review to make sure it's covered in your policy. And of course, if we didn't have it all, there's a clause here that says other insurance may be required. So depending on your contract or the work you're doing or the funder, there may be other specific insurance requirements. And to be able to do the work, you'll have to get those requirements completed. And for example, maybe if one of the contracts you're working on requires you to have automobile insurance, but you're not going to be doing any driving on behalf of the contract, you might be able to negotiate some insurance requirements out because they don't apply to you. But I would say that's a case-by-case basis and something to talk with the funder or a grantee or contracting organization about. Okay, we're going to move on to looking at a certificate of liability insurance. And this is just an example that we pulled from Pierce County in case some folks have seen something from the county as well as the city. But your insurance certificate may be different. It's going to have your name and the name of the insured. When you're working with the City of Tacoma projects, they typically like to be named as additional insured. So you would provide that information to the city of to your broker, and also make sure the City of Tacoma has a certificate once completed. And this is always a good reference to know that how to read a certificate of insurance policy from the areas of coverage over here on the right to like who the policy covers and what type of coverage will be selected. So you probably have this somewhere in your documents as being a nonprofit if you're working on any projects. And if you're, the more projects you work on, typically they like to have certificate of coverage. And so you may be sending a certificate of coverage out depending on the projects you're working on to multiple people. So your broker will help you get insurance coverage, a certificate for each project that's requiring. Does this look familiar to folks? Has anybody seen this? And maybe Andrea, you have seen a certificate of insurance, or I'm sure that you've probably navigated quite a few different insurance requirements. Okay, well,
I didn't know if I should unmute or go in the chat, but
yeah,
last summer was an absolute insurance nightmare.
yeah. Tell us more. Tell us what happened.
Well, I of course became chair of CCOT in January, and you assume the powers that be have the insurance in place that you think you need, and we had the wrong policy. So we had been operating under not the right coverage. And so that was super scary to realize. And thankfully, like, nothing happened. But ever since then, everyone's been really spooky about the insurance. So we do have the D&O insurance. We do have our general liability, City of Tacoma named, have it all straightened out. But I highly recommend utilizing your insurance broker for all of their vast knowledge. Because I came from knowing nothing about insurance other than what's, the best coverage for the best price for my car and home, to a very in-depth look into really how you need to protect yourself and your board members. We also have the anti-molestation insurance, which I had no idea existed, and felt kind of weird, but it is really important when working with volunteers or the general public that if you are not running background checks in your organization, that you are protecting yourself.
That's really good words of wisdom there. And then how did you discover that you didn't have the right coverage? Did the policy lapse, or where did somebody bring it up, or you were like, what is this?
We were getting ready to renew, and we actually got caught in this really weird loop with the city that they were telling us that our insurance was not correct. But given that they can't give you any legal advice, they just kept sending us the very vague, you need $1 million, for your certificate. And for people that don't know about insurance, it didn't make any sense. And we're like, help us. And they're like, we can't help you because of the legalities of the situation. Luckily, one of our board members found an insurance agent who was willing to broker for free. Because also, as all nonprofits know, we have a limited budget. So when things come up or you have to put out a fire real quick, if you don't have the funds, that can be a real barrier. And we don't really have, sorry, I am outside, pardon me.
You're fine. That's
we
great.
We only are funded $4,000 a year. And so that expense could have been like horrible. They could have meant no Zoom for our meetings, or but it isn't as horrible as an expense of no insurance.
Yeah, true. True. Well, and those are really good examples because I feel like it's costly depending on what insurance requirements you need, and every requirement costs more money. And policies can vary, and we've seen policies for some groups of $10,000 or more per year, which everybody's like, well, how can I even do that, right? We're on a limited budget, and are you sure we need all this coverage? So it is a little bit of chicken and egg, and I think that you just sharing that situation is really good. And I love that you brought up also, making sure that you're renewing your coverage and working with your broker to make sure you have everything, because a lapse in coverage could also leave the organization vulnerable when you thought you had it and you didn't. So those are really great examples, Andrea. Thank you.
Thank you.
So a couple of resources here. We just put some links in there for unemployment insurance and also nonprofit insurance. There's a vast amount of resources out there, but we didn't want to give you all of them, but just give you a start and a teaser. And also, we do have a few brokers that we've worked with as well that we can send out in the email along with the recording of this presentation, in case folks would like to have some options of who to go to when they have questions. So we did want to also highlight some free resources, from our partner, Clark Nuber. They are giving us access to their recordings of their extensive training library. And the library covers a lot of requirements for nonprofits regarding formation or fundraising or audits or managing volunteers or reporting on their 990 annually. So all of that stuff can be found for free, and the recorded webinars are vast. They have been working in this area of audit and education for 70 plus years and work with a variety types of organizations. So we're really excited to feature that they have given us access to their library for free for this project. And also their monthly nonprofit newsletter is pretty awesome. In that newsletter, you'll see upcoming trainings and other things, and also guidance on current topics that may be important to your nonprofit.